First, it was God who died. Imagine that the Bible said that by Christ all things were created. Without him was anything created that was created. So this is the creator of the earth. Becoming a man. Now, how do you measure, precious, that sacrifice? You want to measure it? Let me ask you, Pastor, that become an ant. There are some ants around this place. We need to speak to them so they can stop coming around here. They can't hear our language. Can you become an ant so you can go and talk to them? That's what Jesus did. He left where God was speaking to us in sundry times, was too far away from us. So he has to come down and be found in the flesh and blood, because the Bible said that the people he was trying to reach out to was what? Flesh and blood. So he was found like us. Okay, there are rats running around all this place. Maybe if you keep something in the office, that the other day I came here, I bought granite and I just kept the granite here. I don't know what I want to do. Before I will come back, a rat has come to carry it and went away. And we need to speak to those rats to stop doing that. But they cannot hear us. Okay, Faith, can you become a rat? So that you can go and preach to them that that thing they are doing is wrong. Can you now think in your mind, precious, the sacrifice it will take you to become a rat and live among rats for 33 and a half years? And maybe we'll apply Bobonishe for you around that area. This one that is ant, we'll go and buy shelters and just say, because that was exactly what they did to him. The Prince of Life, they handled him. Because he was found like a man, so they treated him like one. So can you now want to become like ant? So that you can, all these mosquitoes that are biting us here, can you just become mosquito one night, just one night, and speak to them that we are in prayer? They should not disturb us. Let them go to the other side. Abigail, please now, just one day, it will just so that Umunegi can sleep. So if you become mosquito now, you will be able to speak to all the mosquitoes. You know, you can be able to talk to them as your brothers. Because you become like, you are now like their brothers. You say, oh yeah, let's go leave this place. Let's go to that end where the toilet is. Let's stay there for the night. And they will listen to you, they will follow you. So that we too can sleep. You can't do it. Nobody will like to do it. Now, do you see the sacrifice? And meanwhile, this one I'm talking to you now is still very lower. I mean, it is a lesser sacrifice for you to become like ant or rat than for God to become like man. In other words, I don't know whether you agree what I'm saying now. And now, the Bible said he didn't end there. Listen. I'm showing you why that altar is so powerful. Now, that sacrifice came here on earth, and the Bible said that not only was he found in a fashion of a man, but when they checked him from head to toe for 33 and a half years, they couldn't find one spot, no sin. He said, for their sake, I sanctified myself. His priesthood was based on huge consecration, sacrifice called consecration. I'm going to talk to you about it because there are 3 major areas of sacrifice. One of which is consecration. It is the highest sacrifice a priest can bring to God. Consecration. When you learn it, then you will begin to function. That's what John learned, though he was born of a high priest, Zachariah, but he lived isolated, alone in the desert. He ate. Is it that he couldn't afford food? Most of us eat because we can afford it. The day we didn't eat because we cannot afford. There are a lot of people that fast only when they don't have food. Do you know the remit of a priest that this man was born into? Do you know the privileges of being born into the priestly lineage? There is never going to be lack of food in the people bring their offerings and their tithe and everything. The parsonage or whatever used to be the most beautiful places. The priestly garment used to be the most, and still remain the most gorgeous garment anybody can wear. And I will show you what those garments are. And they are still available now. So this man abandoned those garments, abandoned the food, abandoned the offerings, abandoned all the privileges, and went into the bush and was feasting on wild honey and locusts, and was wearing animal skin. Isolation. You cannot be like them and be able to change them. A priest, though, is chosen from among men, but has to be different from them in one thing: consecration. He is found choosing from them so he can relate with their challenge, but he must be different from them in terms of consecration. You cannot be involved doing what they are doing and be able to help them out. No. So the sacrifice wasn't just God becoming like what? But he lost his privilege. Bible says he learned obedience by many things which he suffered. He learned, he didn't live did you know that, certain times some persons came to him and said, "We want to follow you." He made a response like, "Foxes have holes and bears nest, but Son of Man really has no place to lay his head." It doesn't really mean that he doesn't have a house, but he lived like as if he didn't have any. That is selflessness, self-cancellation. This service is a consecration. For instance, did you know that the car that he rode, he borrowed it? He didn't have one. Yes. He borrowed it. Did you know that where he held his services, he didn't have venue? He borrowed it. Did you know that the garden where he goes to pray was not his own? He didn't have a venue of his own. He didn't have a prayer place of his own. He didn't have. Meanwhile, he could have all things are his. The Bible says he was rich and became what? Poor. So while he was here, he did not even make use of the privilege that was available to him. Even at death, he could have asked God for a legion of angels. He sacrificed. He did not use that privilege. Oh, you're not following what I'm saying. When he was arrested, he had the privilege. He had the option of saying, "Lord, send me now legions of angels for my deliverance." And God, his Father, would have answered him. But he denied himself of that privilege. How many of you get what I'm just saying? So not only did God become flesh, but he lived a consecrated life, sold that life to his Father. How did somebody live that in 3.5 years, the things he did, they said if it was to be written in books, that the whole earth will fill with books. His life was sold out. Now, if you now take it further, when he was going to die, he didn't die a normal death. First of all, he was brutalized. You can just shoot somebody and he dies. But you start brutalizing somebody, afflicting somebody, beating somebody. So he's alive. He has taken in so much pain that even he's bleeding to die. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying now. I've met a lot of older people who said their agreement with God is that when their time comes, they don't want to be sick for long. Have you heard them say that? They don't want to be carried around from one hospital. So they just want to be sick maybe in the night and then die in the morning. When is their time? Because if you have seen somebody that has been sick for a long time, some people are sick. I told you a man that was sick that his children went and called pastors to come and pray, not for him to be healed, but for him to die. Because he was not smelling. You can't come to the house. The son that he was living with, the landlord chased them out because the whole place was smelling. And the children went to call pastors to come and pray for the man to die, not for the man to be healed. So it's a terrible situation. So imagine somebody is alive and you look at the kind of beating they gave him. His bodies were ripped open. The Bible said that they made furrows. You know what furrows are? Like the way you make ridges. Those things in between the ridges. That was what they used, the cane. The kind of cane they used then is like hook, kind of, at the edge. These are iron hooks. So when they threw it at you, the edges get stuck into your skin and is ripped open. And then when they finished doing that, they now put the burden of the cross on him. And they were mocking him. They were spitting on him. I want you to know why that blood is able to save to the uttermost. It's not just that somebody died and died for the sin of the world. No. You have to weigh who died, the nature of the death, so you can see why there is nothing you can bring that can counter that sacrifice. And then when he died, he went to hell. Now, when they even wanted to kill him, they killed him shamefully. The Bible said that he was subjected to a shameful death, a death on the cross. It could have been better if they hung him. That would have been a better death. If they decapitated his head, it would have been a better. If they did all, stab him to whatever. But in the days of the Romans, it's only criminals, terrible criminals. In these days, there are some people that when they die, you go and bury them in the bush. Do you understand what I'm saying now? Or far away from home, because you say that is an abomination, right? That particular death was the way they kill people that are abominable. The people that the society has rejected and said, we forbid that you are around us. That we said, for it is written, curse is him that what hangeth on the tree. So it is seen as an abominable if somebody is to die on the cross, on the tree. It's a shameful death. It's an abominable death. So when it was time for him to die, after that, he chose the most reproachful death anyone can die. That's why he died. It is a sacrifice that determines the level of access that an altar has. So the sacrifice is more powerful than the altar. And meanwhile, the altar is more powerful than the priest. It's after a priest has raised an altar that he can stand on it to function. If a priest does not have an altar, his priesthood doesn't have anything to offer. Any priest that does not have an altar does not have ministry, does not have solution, does not have priesthood. It does not exist. What makes you a priest actually is that there's an altar. And what determines your level of priesthood, the things that you can command in the realm, is the level of sacrifice that is there. I know that every single one of us now understood that the number one sacrifice we bring into our priesthood is the sacrifice of the blood, and the number one altar we erect to minister is the same altar that Jesus Christ has erected for us. That's why the Bible said that we are seated together with him in the heavenly places. We function from that realm. Meanwhile, you have to also understand that there is now a level of personal sacrifice that you bring in to allow you access to the riches that is found in what Jesus has done. What he has done, Chiamaka, stand up. Jesus, stand up. Lovell, stand up. Fast. Stand.